Given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene an executive session and a regular meeting on Tuesday, July the 3rd, 2012, at 5:50 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Executive session item A, consultation with attorney regarding real estate acquisitions pursuant to sections 551.071 and 551.072 of the Texas Government Code.
Mayor, I move we go into executive session. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yes, fine. The Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Yeah. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody would stand up, and I'm going to embarrass my good friend Ralph Vela to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Brad, would you lead us in the invocation?
Let's pray. Father God, we come to you in the name of Jesus Christ to once again thank you for this great nation that we're blessed to be a part of. Lord, we thank you for another birthday coming for our nation. Lord, we ask you to protect the religious freedoms that we have enjoyed for so long. Lord, put it in the hearts of our leaders to continue to protect those freedoms, Lord, to worship you uninhibited. Lord, we ask you to lead and guide our government officials from the president to the city, Lord, how to help our poor without destroying their initiative, without hurting their ability to continue to work. Lord, I ask you to lead and guide the leaders here before us today concerning the issues that are on our agenda. Give them insight, wisdom, and direction. Lord, bless them with that. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Action on item discussed in executive session. Item A, action to proceed as advised by legal counsel in executive session.
Second.
Commissioners, we're asking...
John, I think we got a motion to approve on your item.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
We don't have a mayor's report or commissioner's report.
I will do a small report for the sake of the public and for whoever's listening. For some of you who might not know, this weekend, or this week, the Little Miss Kickball State Championship is being held in Brownsville. So I wanted to make sure that I welcomed all the young ladies from around the state. And if you happen to see them, if you go out to the sports park or wherever it is that you might see any of these folks, be sure and welcome them to Brownsville and thank them for being here. The other item that I think is of importance to each one of you is that the city has gone through the initial budget phase. We're going through the process of actually the evaluation and job descriptions and things that are important to all of you as to the qualifications of the people within your city government. We will be tweaking that and working with Pete insofar as trying to figure out what sums of money will be afforded to these departments, and we will make sure that it's on our website so that all of you can have an idea of where your money is going to or where it's proposing to go to, because the budget will not be approved until sometime in before October the 1st when our fiscal year starts. But I do invite and encourage all of you to get involved with your community. It's really important, as I've been mayor for a little bit over a year now, that no matter where I go, the community as a whole really does a whole lot better when we're all ambassadors going out there and telling them how good we are and what a great place we are. And for some of you who are watching the news, we have a situation out here that TSC and UTB are going through, which are going to be delicate negotiations and trying to figure out how they're going to work out their campuses. I would encourage all of you to get involved in that process in whatever way you want to, with the idea that the most important thing that we have to do is that our students are the most important people that we have to take care of. And the second thing is that both of those institutions, we need a community college and we need a four-year university, and we need it for our students, we need it for our young, we need it for our economic success in the future. So get involved with the community, get involved with your neighborhoods. Brownsville's got a lot of good things going for it and a whole lot of great hope. And so have a happy 4th of July. That ends mine. Any commissioners' reports? Okay. Presentations?
Brownsville
Charlie?
Museum of Fine Art.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners. Thank you for embarrassing me, Honorable Mayor. Appreciate that. Humility is virtuous, so thank you for the lesson. My name is Rafael Vela, and I want to first begin by thanking the City Commission and those City Commissioners who sat before you, who have played a vital role in not only the establishment, but the sustenance of the Museum of Fine Art. I want to recognize also the board members that are present here today. If you all will rise. These are current board members of the Fine Art Museum. There are 20 of us. Thank you very much for being here. I want to recognize the 4B board. 4B, back in 2008, was the organization that had the courage to fund this building and the results that you see in this image right here. Marcela Hinojosa is our executive director. She's not here right now. She's probably somewhere creating partnerships. We can bring more art from maybe New York or Madrid or something like that. You want to go ahead? Next slide. Huh? Sure. What you see here is a collage of images. Our commitment in our mission statement is a commitment to education. And what you see here are images of some of the programs that we program on a regular basis. Since in the last 18 months, 12,000 students have gone through the Museum of Fine Art. You can take classes in art, but it's not just art. It is not unusual to find students playing violins, playing the piano, alongside the beautiful exhibits that you see and the artwork that they are engaged in. We have forged partnerships with the school districts, not only the BISD, but school districts around the valley. The exhibitions that we have, our objective, it is not easy for everybody to get to museums in San Antonio, in Houston, in Washington, much less Europe. We take our role of bringing art from around the world to the people of Brownsville very, very seriously. And so what you see here, images on the far left, of course, you may have been to the Dalí exhibition. Dalí is exhibited in places like Madrid, Paris, San Jose, Costa Rica, all over, and in Brownsville, Texas. Frida Kahlo, Fafi, Melguizo, the list goes on. And we have a calendar, an aggressive calendar, to continue to bring these works of art to the people of Brownsville. So that role of bringing the art to people of Brownsville is something that we hold very, very dear and near to our hearts. The next slide is our current organizational structure. As you can see, we have an executive director and around 8 or 10 employees. The red boxes are the employees, the positions that are currently vacant. There's a curator for a fine art museum is critical. That person is the primary liaison between the museum and the art that comes in from across the world. The grant coordinator for obvious reasons. is vacant. The education coordinator that coordinates the education programs between the museum and the school districts that you heard about earlier. We have a gift store that sits there, but there's nobody to run it. So we have a bookkeeper, administrative director, marketing coordinator, rental coordinator, receptionist, and a maintenance, all headed up by the executive director. So here's why we're here today. We know this is not an action item. This is the history of funding from the city. In 2008, we were the beneficiaries of $250,000 from the city in the form of a grant. And since then, that amount has reduced down to $50,000. So we're here today to ask for is, out of all the organizations that have are involved in such important duties for the city, one of the things that separates us is that we have a mortgage to pay. We owe $600,000 on this building to a local bank. And so every month we have to pay the principal, and at the end of the year, the interest payments at the end of the year, we have to pay, there's Marcela. At the end of the year, we have to pay our lender a principal payment, a large lump sum. So when we have galas, many of you attended the galas. The funds that we raise from those galas, we have to turn right back around and invest it or pay the bank. So as a result, if you go back to the organizational chart, if we were able to get those monies freed up, we would be able to fill some of these positions. Because right now, Marcela, Dianita, Adriana, Dora, all of these individuals are doing all of these roles all at once. So you've heard this before. But to us, it seems like this investment, and so this is what we're asking. The interest on this note on a yearly basis is $36,000. The principal is $40,000 for a total of $76,000. On a monthly basis, that total is $6,333. So if you look at that initial graph in 2008, 2012 is at $50,000. That additional $70,000, we're not asking for to restore funding to its original level. What we are asking for is just to get us to about 50% of what it is so that we can pay our debt to the bank. So again, I know this is not an action item, but whatever we can do to place this on the agenda for the City Commission. So to be very clear, what we're asking for is $6,300 additional dollars per month from the general fund to be given to the museum in support of this museum. I'll be happy to field any questions.
Call you later.
No, Ralph, I think that this commission fully appreciates your situation and will take it under consideration at the appropriate time. But I think I appreciate you coming and telling us that it's not often that we hear we want exactly this, and we know where it's going. So we love you guys, and you guys do a great job. And Marcela, she walked in, she does a marvelous job, and so thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Employee of the month.
Mayor, members of the commission, please help me welcome the employee of the month for July, Mr. Jose Joe Valdez. I think many of you know him because he delivers a lot of the information that you all need on a daily and weekly basis to your offices or homes. So Joe is assigned to the city secretary's office. He's the only male, by the way, that works there at that office. But that's not why he's getting the employee of the month. He's got a multitude of responsibilities. He handles them very well, including issuing birth certificates and death records and paternity records. He is also the safety officer for that department. Does very well in reporting everything that he does to our finance department. He is responsible for a lot of the fees that are collected at the department. He is very trustworthy, responsible, always reports to work on time, always has a smile on his face, and willing to do anything and all that he can to contribute to our city's goals. So we congratulate him with a pin. The plaque, Employee of the Month for July. And of course, a watch that he doesn't have one, so good. There you go, Joe. So he's eligible for the Employee of the Year at our banquet in December, so congratulations to Joe.
Thank you, Toa.
Next, we have consent agenda items A through C.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 5, consideration and action to appoint members to the Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to present to you the vacancies for the Brownsville Citizen Advisory Committee. As you can see, there's quite a few. There's 7. And we have 4 applications that were submitted. And if you also note, there are several terms that are up for, they're going to expire here pretty soon. So these 4, Chris Pineda, Estela Aguirre, Priscilla Horta-Wenner, and Tito Mata are all applicants.
How many vacancies do we have?
There's 7.
There's and only 4 applicants?
Yes, yes, and we've tried to promote as much as we can. So I encourage you guys, if you have anybody that you'd like to appoint, to please encourage them to submit an application.
I just have one question. Chris Patterson is out there. I thought that Tito Mata wanted to be on the Parks Board.
I met with him this weekend, and he expressed interest in a different board. He doesn't want to be on this board.
Not on this board?
Right.
Because that's what he told me as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question, Stephanie. With all these vacancies, this is the same board that makes recommendations on CDBG funding, correct?
Yes.
So how many individuals met regularly to review applications?
All these that are listed.
All of them?
That are listed as not, the vacant ones, the majority of them did not attend. Some did not attend at all. And with the new policy in place, if you did not attend 3 or more, you were out. We also made some calls to see if they were interested before completely taking them off. We asked if they were interested in staying, and several expressed that they were not.
So we had 7 vacancies while this board was regularly meeting to decide on funding?
Well, they were not considered vacant at the time. We had hoped that they would continue to show, and they did not.
But they weren't present.
They were not present.
I make a motion to appoint Chris Pineda.
Well, how many applicants do you have? Am I counting correctly? There's 8?
7 vacancies.
There's 7 vacancies, 4 applications,
But one
Four
of them,
applications.
doesn't want to be on this board.
3 applications.
so 3.
There's 3.
There's 3. Okay, and you need 7, so I mean, can we appoint all 3, or is that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can.
I mean, could I would entertain a motion to appoint all 3, and then we can pass it all.
As a slate,
Yeah.
I make a motion to appoint all 3. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
You got 3 more.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steph.
Item 6, consideration and action to appoint or reappoint 1 member to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Honorable Mayor, Mr. Mike Salinas, we discussed at the last meeting, submitted his form, so he is eligible for reappointment, and he would like to continue to serve.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I wanted to see if we could get one of Lorraine Whited to be appointed on that board. I believe she submitted her application.
Is she on that list?
She's
No.
we have her application
Oh,
was
we have her
on file.
application? Okay.
Yes.
And I also know that Craig Grove expressed significant interest, and he submitted his application more than a year ago, and he's been regularly contacting me about that appointment.
well, there he is.
Okay. I'm sorry, but would the secretary help me out here? Is there a motion on the floor?
I didn't hear one.
I- Okay. In
Well,
other words,
I would like to make a motion to,
well, just a second, just
Yeah,
a second, just a
motion
second.
first.
So there's a motion on the board. I haven't heard a second. The way Robert's Rules of Orders works, it would be, if it fails for a second, then we can make another motion for another appointment.
Not a problem.
Okay.
What was the motion? I'm
I
sorry.
think it was from
Motion to
Miguel
approve by
Salinas,
Mr.
because I think he thought that that was the only guy that was, but I guess there's more than that. Anyway, there's a motion for Mr. Salinas. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Well, nay.
How many nays?
We got three nays and 2 ayes, and so the motion fails. Okay.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Lorraine Whited.
Can I ask a question before that?
Go ahead.
Those are the districts of the people that are applying, correct?
That's where they reside.
Right? Okay, what about the people that remain?
The top part is the board as it exists right now, and where they reside, with their term expiration.
So those people, except for number 7, are going to remain on the board. Am I right? Am I right? Ben?
I,
Am I
Yes, there's only one Mr. Salinas sits on the P and Z today. And last meeting, we appointed Mr. Luis de la Garza, and he's in Mr. Varel's district. Also, Mr. Salinas also lives in Mr. Varel's district as well. But he is a member of the Plan and Zoning Commission and wants to serve, continue to serve. So I mean that, but it's all your decision.
I have a question. Why does it say that Luis de la Garza lives in District 2 when he does not?
I think it's a typo.
It's a typo.
And so does Mariano Garcia also live in District 2? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't know, the city secretary prepared this list.
What is the question?
What district does number 1 and number 2, what district do they reside in?
That's the district that they reside in, too.
I think Luis is in 4.
Yes, and
He is in 4?
Emerald, no,
Emerald,
Emerald
no,
Emerald Valley?
no, Emerald Cove.
Emerald Cove?
Does everybody feel real comfortable that this is all accurate and we're ready to do something on this, or does anybody want to table this?
Well, I have one more question. Is it true you haven't had a quorum the last 2 months? And if so, who was absent?
That's correct. At the last meeting, we did not have a quorum. And who was absent? Mr. Jesus Quesada, Donna Claude, Adolfo Pereira were absent, and of course, Mr. de la Garza, he had just served, so he didn't have a packet. And Mr. Salinas was absent.
So have you had a problem with their attendance?
We've had
Yes.
problems with attendance.
So maybe we should consider tabling this so that we can look at their attendance record, and if they're in
I think
compliance
that-
with the policy, with the policies that we put in place regarding the attendance, and if they're not attending, then we need to get people that are gonna be attending these meetings.
Right, and I would like to correct that
No.
sheet as
And I
well.
don't think District 2 has a slot
Well,
activity.
this is a significant board, and we've tabled this before, and they need to conduct city business. These are important items that come before them, so if we keep tabling them.
Well, I understand, but we also need to look into their attendance, and if they're not attending, we need to get people that are gonna be attending these meetings, because obviously they need to conduct the
I think that's
The-
what we said last time.
agenda.
That's exactly what we said last time.
But-
So
We should've
we're
researched
doing
it.
the same thing over.
You know, here's my suggestion. I hate to keep tabling these things, but maybe we ought to give ourselves a couple of weeks to take a look at it, because what happens, obviously, you have more than one candidate that are willing to try to serve on here, and hopefully they understand that it's gonna require their attendance and their energy, and if you're having trouble getting a quorum as it is, all you're gonna do is, kind of compound the problem. So I still would like to entertain a motion to table for the present time, but I do want, Ben, I want a report that's sent out to all these commissioners within a couple of days, just tell me, what districts are properly represented, what is their attendance records, and who are the people that have shown the most interest that we ought to be considering, so that we can take a look at this thing the next time and not go through the same process.
Sure. I'll have that by noon tomorrow.
Well, I heard a motion to table. Do I hear a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Nay.
Do we have a meeting in 2 weeks?
Zamora was nay?
Nay.
We done as an A2.
2 nays.
Longoria? I'm sorry? No, that's till August. Item number 7, public hearing and action on adopting the October 1st, 2012 to September 30th, 2013 budget for the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Program, and the Emergency Shelter Program.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd just like to present to you, as Estella mentioned, the 38th fiscal year funding for CDBG, Home, and ESG, as recommended by the Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee. As you well know, no one agency is ever guaranteed funding for the upcoming year, and regardless of their status, whether they're compliant or in excellent standing, it is at their discretion and ultimately yours today. I do ask that, and this is very important, if you decide to make any changes to this recommended budget, that it be done right here and right now. If we don't do, if that's not done, we could quite possibly jeopardize funding for the 38th year, as we will miss our August 15th deadline to submit our one-year action plan that involves a 30-day comment period scheduled to go in this week. I also have our chair, Carlos Hernandez, if there are any questions about these recommendations.
A question. I'd like to know about those individuals or those organizations that didn't receive funding. Who were the other applicants?
Yes, we went in and did some monitoring visits to all of the subrecipients, the agencies, the nonprofit agencies. There were random visits, and those that were found non-compliant at the time, we did issue a finding in a formal letter, giving them 30 days, some 10 days, to make the corrections or give a response. Everyone complied, and several of them are now compliant, but weren't at the time of the random audit.
So which organizations are now compliant?
Well, we have United Way is now compliant. The Moody Clinic is now compliant. The biggest issue is that their expenditure ratios were not where they needed to be at the time of the monitoring visit. At the beginning of each fiscal year, each organization receiving funding attends an orientation, and it's known to them that it is very important that they meet their expenditure ratio. The city of Brownsville right now is not at their expenditure ratio, and we received notice from HUD today. So one of the reasons that we have not met our expenditure ratio is because these agencies have not met their expenditure ratio. So there's pressure on us, and what we did was we went in and we monitored the subrecipients the way that HUD monitors us. We follow their guidelines. So when we went in at the time, the way HUD would, randomly with us, they were non-compliant.
Were they aware that they needed to make these ratios prior to your random visit?
Yes. Yes, because they know this in their orientation. They're advised of this in their orientation at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Is there anybody here from any of those organizations?
This is public hearing, so I mean, we'll get a chance to, whoever wants to address, be more than happy to listen to them.
I have a question before that. Stephanie, obviously this is a government monitored fund that is very important to Brownsville. What are the implications to us if we override what are considered non-compliance issues from the federal government?
Well, HUD will come down and they'll audit all of our files, and they'll cite us for non-compliance for not monitoring our subrecipients correctly. And whatever is missing or inaccurate or was inappropriately used, we as a city will have to pay back that funding, even though it was the subrecipient who made the mistake.
But now they're in compliance, so if we were to fund these organizations, where does that put us with?
So basically, we'd have to make an amendment to what we are.
When we went in and we monitored these subrecipients, we did issue the letter telling them that you have this 30 days to fix the problem. Some of them did. Some of them will not meet their expenditure ratio even now. And we worked with each of these, and we said some of them are getting, there's an amendment to their contract, and now the only way that they will spend is if they can spend on things that weren't initially proposed, so we worked with them. And others, we went in and we helped them get their filing system in place. So they're each unique, but the majority of them did not meet their expenditure ratio, but there are other issues with some of these organizations.
Have they been monitored before by our city staff?
To my understanding is not as thoroughly as we did this time. And again, we went in and we monitored the way that HUD would come in and monitor us.
So this was a first-time deal for them. There's something that they had not experienced from the city.
Yes, but they were aware that it could happen, that we were going to conduct these monitoring visits.
Okay.
So is there anybody here from any of those organizations that have anything to say?
Well, Stephanie, we're going to have a public hearing, I keep telling you. But what I'm saying to you is that what you're asking, this is something that you're asking for us to adopt today.
Yes.
Okay, and that's your recommendation.
This is
And
the
the recommendation-
Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee. This is their recommended budget.
Okay, and that's Carlo, I think he's here on their behalf. But now we'll open it up for public hearing for whatever discussion we have about this item, if all the commissioners are through asking questions.
I just had a comment. I'm being told that as of right now, that United Way is compliant and that Moody Clinic is compliant, but up to this morning, I was still getting phone calls and emails that they were not. And yet, at the same time, you're turning around and telling me I have to make a decision by tonight. So I'm glad that they're compliant now, because they are people that we have helped in the past and that do qualify for funding. But at the same time, you as a director to come to the commission tonight and say, I understand that there are guidelines, that there are timelines, but I've never been told at a meeting, you need to approve this tonight. You need to sit down here tonight in front of a viewing audience, in front of everybody, and give me a decision. I'm gonna need more time. That's just my take. I don't know about the rest of the commission.
That's okay, that's fine, everybody's entitled. Stephanie, in all fairness, I mean, this is a task that was given to her within recent times.
Yep.
And so I feel very comfortable in the work that she's doing, so. And go ahead, we'll open up a public hearing, if I don't slobber too much here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Gracia, and I'm the Executive Director of Casa of Cameron and Willacy Counties. First, I'd like to see that letter of noncompliance. Our agency, unfortunately, I was greatly disappointed when I learned that we were not being funded. We submitted everything on time, we scored well, and heck, our program's always been used as an example because we have all policies, guidelines in place, we do our job well. Now we're being penalized because we were under expenditures at the time that the applications were submitted. That doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, so far we've served 101 children from the city of Brownsville with the help of 80 trained volunteers from the city of Brownsville, and I'm being told, oh, you're being penalized for doing what you were supposed to be doing, for trying to be on track. Yeah, granted, we hadn't spent everything, but we planned on it. We don't have a set price every month. I don't know if any of the other agencies do, but the expenses fluctuate. Supplies, whatever, the telephone isn't always exactly to the dollar, the telephone bill that is, it doesn't seem right to me. I mean, this is about principle. We've got to do this right. We can start funding all these other agencies. We can start funding parks. We can start funding nature trails. What good is it going to do? Our program serves abused children, and we're trying to make their lives better. And I'm very disappointed to hear that we're being penalized for this. Quite frankly, I'm disgusted. It doesn't seem right, and that you all have to decide tonight? She may be doing a great job, I don't know, but let me tell you, if I had told that to my board of directors, you'll have to make a decision tonight, it doesn't seem right. And this isn't right. This is about priorities. It's about principle. I'm very disappointed.
I have a question. How much was your agency awarded last year?
We were awarded $56,000. I'm sorry, we were awarded $54,200.
$54,200.
Do you get any funding from any of the other cities?
Yes, the city of Harlingen funds us also.
How much do they give you?
$30,000, $29,500.
And you serve,
All of Cameron and Willacy counties.
and what other cities fund you?
No other cities. They don't assign funds for social services. They apply it all to their drainage, their sewer systems, and what have you.
So it's only, your funding's coming from Harlingen and
From
Brownsville?
CDBGs, yes.
I'm sorry, what was the amount that you received from Harlingen?
29,500.
29.
And let me just, point of clarification. You guys do a beautiful job. This is not a comment on the type of work that you do or the wonderfulness of your work, because I'm very familiar with it. I think our situation here arises from what HUD guidelines are imposing upon us, and we're trying very diligently to work within what they have asked us to do. So it's sort of a trickle-down effect. And again, I'm not here to comment on it. All I want to know is it's not a reflection. And it's something, trust me, I don't understand this bureaucracy. But I have to live with it so long as I'm in this position. But again, thank you for being here. Anybody else may want to make a comment.
I have a question. If we were to reallocate or try and reallocate funds, would you work closely with us to make sure that we are within guidelines?
Of course, most definitely. I understand guidelines. I understand being in compliance. And HUD says you want them to be spending their money on track. And yeah, that makes plenty of sense. But at the end of the fiscal year, yeah, we'll have spent it all. And it isn't fair to say that at that time, oh, they were under. It's not fair, and it's not right.
Well, I fully appreciate your point. And like I said, the bureaucracies don't always make a whole lot of sense. And I have been, personally, I think I've been up to HUD like twice now up in San Antonio. And every time that I try to go with logic and all the other things that I do as trained as a lawyer, it doesn't always work for me. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members.
The last of the gentlemen, okay, right, David?
Not the last. Ralph knows the pledge, he's got to be a gentleman as well. My name is David Merrill. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm a volunteer this evening. In the interest of full disclosure, I'll tell you two quick things. The first is that the first time I was at the Moody Clinic was about 30 some odd years ago, and actually maybe longer than that. And as a reporter for Channel 5, and I now visit, when I visit as a financial advisor to them on occasion. So I do have, I have had a long time to get to know the Moody Clinic and the work thereof. And I wouldn't for a moment challenge you on the Moody Clinic, because I'm well aware that each of you has experienced the Moody Clinic, and you've been there, you understand the sort of work that goes on and how important it is to any number of families here in Brownsville on an annual basis. Today I would congratulate you. Thank you first for your service, and then to express my own sorrow at the position that you're in. You are definitely caught between a rock and a hard place. It is difficult to see a way out. You are in a position where you're having to choose between what is in the obvious best interest of your own community versus the overhang of a good bit of, if I can't think of a better word than neglect, over a period of many years where the city was not able to meet its contractual obligations to HUD. And now, in fact, the citizens of Brownsville are called upon to make the sacrifice to come back into compliance with that in a mere single year. So it's obvious, I know that each of you is aware that the best efforts have been made on the part of the United Way, Moody Clinic, and CASA to bring into compliance all the standards. But as you well know, with HIPAA regulations these days, with the medical field the way it is, it's not easy to reconcile the demands of one federal law and regulation against another federal law and regulation. And somehow bringing those two pieces of the puzzle together can take quite a bit of time. But I don't think anyone would challenge the fact, the integrity of the Moody Clinic, its service to the people, the children of Brownsville, the families of Brownsville, nor would anyone, as far as I've been able to find, challenge the integrity or the willingness to work with the city of Brownsville to bring them Moody Clinic records, not only make them available under the law, which is a conflict, but to make those available in a way that is satisfactory to the city of Brownsville and to HUD. Since you are caught in a bind, I would just suggest to you that I don't see how you can act to damage the ongoing best interest of your own community in such a way. So the alternative would be either, as has been suggested, either to act now and modify the budget yourselves, or act in a very short period of time by tabling it tonight. I can't make that decision for you, but I can tell you that it's in the best interest of your own citizenry to reconcile the current demand for services from so many in need versus the demands that have been laid upon these organizations in a very short period of time, and probably in an arbitrary and capricious way because of the history that is involved. I appreciate your attention.
And again, this is no reflection on the services that are provided. David, you and I go way back.
I understand completely, Mr. Mayor.
And you know that we have the greatest admiration for those people that work selflessly in need, people that need the services. And I've got many, many letters from very, wonderful citizens of this community about trying to do something here. As you can well stated, we are in a bit of a difficult situation right now.
I would point out that the chairman of the board, Mr. Tumlinson, is here, as well as Debbie Sears, who's been the executive director for and a full-time clinician serving patients on a daily basis, in addition to trying to balance the budget for 35 years. Thank you.
And a job well done, Debbie. I'm fully familiar with all your operations.
Thank you for your attention, sir.
Good evening. My name's Karen Arista, and I'm the Financial Stability Coordinator at United Way. I coordinate the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, and we've enjoyed the partnership with the City of Brownsville with the block grant funding for the last 4 years for the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. We give free income tax assistance to low to moderate income residents of Brownsville. It's a program that's big on community economic development. We brought in $2 million in earned income credits and child tax credits last year to the City of Brownsville. It was a 23% increase in the number of clients that we served from last year to this year. It's a great program. The CDBG funding allows us to have a full-time site serving our low-income residents. Here at the iTech Center, we partner with the university for that. We requested $25,000 this year, the same as last year. And with that, our goal is to increase the number of clients served once more in our community. The issue with the non-compliance for the monitoring visit was just technical issues for us. On the timing, the tax season is very short. We don't run a year-long program. The season is January through April. And then in full agreement with the City of Brownsville, the department that runs the program, we give our results in May at the May monthly report. And so it was from that report then we began the process. So as far as the timing, we've been following the city's timing. There hasn't been a delay on that aspect. We're following the plan that was in our agreement from the beginning. With our monitoring visit this year, they do a random sample, and the issue with random samples is that they are random. So HUD has laid out guidelines. Of course, we had the 10 days to give a plan. We gave a plan to the city, and our plan was that we would review all of our files. So in the process of reviewing all of our files, we discovered that, well, actually more applications qualified than we had actually submitted the first time. So for us, it's just part of the process. We have 30 days, 30 days to come into compliance, which of course is not even up yet. That 30-day period is not up yet. We've already met, we've already come into compliance. So I don't know if you have any questions on the program or.
I have a question. How much funding did you receive last year?
$25,000. And this allowed us to increase by 23% the number of residents served here.
And again, I think, I don't think anybody had any ill intentions, the problem with the random sampling, as you well pointed out,
It's just random.
It's random. And so, but compliance is compliance, not because of what we want, and I want everybody to understand here, the audience as well. This is something that regulations that are coming down to us, and we don't want to, in other words, if we're looking at the entire ability to fund, we're looking at the bigger picture, and we don't want to jeopardize, this bigger fund for making an exception over here, and then we get penalized. And I think we have a better way to address this as we go along, but I'm telling you, HUD helps this city tremendously, and I'm very appreciative of their efforts, but they also have a lot of regulations that, to me, don't make a whole lot of sense. But but they're the ones with a pocketbook, okay?
Well,
and I do want to commend you for that effort, because that is a great program. It's not about your program, and it's not about your efficiency. It's about some regulations that we have to deal with.
Well, the program we run, the VITA program, is a program of the Internal Revenue Service. They are a partner in this. We follow Internal Revenue Service guidelines to the letter. The issues that come with documenting the income have to do with translating the IRS income documents into HUD appropriate documents. That's a process that we have to go through. HUD actually and the IRS have an agreement to work together for the VITA program. The original resolution was in 2004. There are lots of resolution agreements since then documenting it. So the VITA program and HUD are okay together. It's just a matter of we're following the city guidelines to implement the program. So I think we're in compliance with HUD. I don't think that's a problem.
You said that they were now in compliance?
Excuse me?
Stephanie?
You said that they were now in compliance?
Well, like she mentioned, like Karen mentioned, it's a technicality. The issue is, in the time that we went in, we did the random sampling, and 19% were services to ineligible applicant, or people who came in. So we spoke with HUD, and HUD said that that's pretty much how we would have done it. At any point in time, if we go in and we see a list of files, then they all need to be compliant. So Karen and I met yesterday, and we discussed that their process needs to be changed, and they need to be more specific, maybe come up with a new way to, when someone's coming in and we see that their income is CDBG eligible, maybe put it in a different pot, instead of getting them all in later on, figuring which ones were and which ones weren't. Because at any point in time that we go in, these organizations need to be compliant, and at that time that we went in, they were not. So we discussed making some changes to fix the issue.
I would say one thing on that is the total in the contract, the original contract, we agreed to serve 933 clients. And so, percentage rate of those not served and all that are on numbers higher than the numbers in the contract we agreed to serve. So
I think we
we're
understand that
compliant.
you actually served more than
We served more than we
the
said we
sample
would
showed,
in the contract.
but
yes.
at the time that it was done, I understand.
So,
Okay.
I think it's the timing.
So my next question, Stephanie, is there a place that you see that we could pull possibly 50 for CASA and 25 for United Way?
You have such a low voice, I can't hear. I'm
I
sorry.
can't hear you.
Sorry.
And I just want to add a little bit of each, but GASA, the issue with them was the expenditure ratio. With United Way, it was their process, which led to the finding. The Moody Clinic is a little bit different. There was a finding, which was the situation with their filing system and the expenditure ratio. In addition to that, there was a concern that regarding employee bonuses. We asked that they respond, and we didn't get a sufficient response from them, so that left it open. But my recommendation to you is that if you are going to pull any funding from anywhere else, I would highly recommend that you do so with the shelter, so that every other organization keeps the funding that they were recommended.
Okay.
Carlo, is anyone else, public? Anyone else? Is this?
I used to be in the advisory group many years ago. The thing is that you have to understand, and I heard our commissioner said it, how can they come here? I thought they were ill-prepared. When you come here and say, I want it done today, that is not correct. We never did that when I was in that board for 3 years as an advisory. Also, I learned my first year when I was up there with this HUD budgets. It seems like there's some future, long future plans that money's already been taken. I think the fire department had one time, they had to purchase so many fire trucks. So money allocated was being taken every year for those things. So, and there's a lot of people that do apply for more money, or some even apply for $1,000, not even that much. But there's some things here that some other organizations can take up the slack, and there'll be money. But the only thing I'm here is, I think, and I feel in my heart, to come here and say, you do it right now. That is not appropriate. Thank you.
Carlo, please.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commissioners. I would just like to say a word on behalf of myself, the chair, and the work that the committee put into the recommendations to the City of Brownsville. Most of the decisions by committee in our discussion were based on input from staff, things that were presented on their application. Also, to mention one thing, most of the applicants who submit an application are not pulled out and are not rated. They don't discriminate from anybody. Anyone who applies, it's up to the committee to review it, get background, get information from staff, so that we can make a reasonable decision and a recommendation only to the city. We understand everyone needs money, would like money. In dire times, it's hard. And in real life, when we do wrong or make a bad choice, there's consequences. And we have to abide by that. When we make a good choice, there's a consequence to that. Make a bad choice, there's a consequence to that. So in reality, I know it's difficult for a commission to be presented the way it is, but living up to the expectations of the committee to the best of its ability, I do stand behind committee and the recommendations are making before this.
Okay, so you stand by this recommendation. This is the same recommendation that Stephanie's making to the commission this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you very much, Carl.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Sears. I'm the Executive Director and Speech Pathologist at the Moody Clinic. I wanted to make a few clarifications. First of all, regarding the salaries of the staff and myself, I think there's been a misconception that my position, I am a full-time therapist at the Moody Clinic as well as the Executive Director. All of our therapist staff are undersalaried when you compare to the public sector. And it is very difficult to find staff in these positions as therapists when they can make twice as much as we pay at the clinic. And that is the reason that we do give board-approved bonuses at the end of the year when we can find that. None of the CDBG funds are used for staff bonuses. And I also want to tell you that we are now in compliance and that we will continue to operate under these compliant rules and patient information that we are expected to reveal. We have put in protocols at work where we are not jeopardizing patient confidentiality under HIPAA rules, but we are able to give those reports to the city under specialized patient numbers that we have established now.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for public hearing? I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have an action item.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget to include $50,000 for CASA and $25,000 for United Way, taken from the Brownsville Safe Shelter Dome 2 Phase 1 budget allowance.
Is that in the same item, or it's a separate item, since it's another pool?
To make a change, to make an amendment to this, same item?
Well,
They
what
can make an
happens
amendment
is,
to the budget at this
she's
time, can't
making
they?
in other words, there's either a motion to accept or reject your recommendation, or, I mean, you could actually put a motion to amend the budget before you actually take a vote to either accept or reject. But we'd need, you're trying to move money out of another different slot, which is what you had told her, the commissioner, that was possible.
Yes.
If you were gonna do it out of that particular silo, if I understand correctly.
Right, so that no other nonprofit who was recommended for funding would have to.
Okay, would that in any way affect our funding, though, from HUD?
No,
No.
no.
Okay?
I just,
How does it affect the funding for the shelter?
We won't have Phase 1 for Dome number 2, and we can pursue other funding sources for that.
I have a question, Stephanie. If we approve funding tonight for these 3 organizations that had some compliance issues, can we put them under a probationary period where if they are not in compliance within a certain time frame, the duration of a certain time frame, that we bring back the money?
Sure, we can. Basically, it's are you going to fund them or are you not? And when the new fiscal year starts, we will continue to monitor. We can at any point in time go in, and we can set that, make it, a month in or 2 months in, go in and monitor, and if they are non-compliant, we can go to the process of giving them a warning, should you guys agree to that. And if they're not, we can pull their funding, then we would need to reprogram the funds to other projects and go through the whole process with HUD. It can be done. It's a lengthy process, but it can be done.
Is there a process that we have in place right now to go in and audit all the agencies? Are we putting that into effect?
Yes, we are. And we are hoping to have the home policy manual, which they'll be very similar across all the programs, but to have that ready by the time HUD visits us in about 2 weeks, because that's one of the things that they're looking for.
So how often are we going to be going in there to do these audits?
Well, they're random, so, we may be doing them once a month. We don't know which agencies we select that month.
It's just that you stated that you're trying to follow the procedures that HUD imposes upon the city. So
Right.
using your same argument, HUD also provides us the opportunity to address compliance issues, and I think that we should be able to pass that on to the organizations that are applying for this funding.
Absolutely, and that's what we do. We give them 30 days to become compliant, 10 days to respond on how they're going to do so. And we did that with these agencies in a formal letter.
And Stephanie, in all fairness, HUD can also do their own audit, right?
Absolutely. That's why I checked.
That's the risk you run, is that, again, I hate to be, like this, but I mean, I've never seen an organization, or I guess bureaucracy, run the way that organization is, but it is run, and it is difficult, and they're very unforgiving, because and once they withhold funds from you, are you bound to, are you told that you're a non-compliant situation, they get after you. I mean, they really do, and that's the problem. It's no different than the IRS or any other organization, but for them, you're looking for a situation that I think we're on the road to trying to straighten it out.
Right.
It's a difficult situation.
And I agree with you 100%, Mayor. I just don't think it's fair that we penalize organizations because the city wasn't doing its job.
Well, but that's not entirely true. I mean, I agree with you, but it's not entirely true. There were problems there. I have one question more about the shelters.
Okay.
There are, if I recall correctly, there were consequences to us if we did not achieve the funding for Phase 1 in time.
Well, we have 2 years to build these domes, and so one of them will be funded, and we were hoping to have Phase 1 monies available. We could commit next year to them, which could be the plan now that this won't be available if you guys decide to go that route.
So how much time do we have to fund those domes? Because
Well, the clock started when we received the award letter, which,
Okay,
for
but-
Swartz Park, it's about 2 months ago. Yeah.
which gives us how much time?
2 years from
2
then.
years from,
Right. So,
It's
I mean,
about-
that
It's about
is.
a year and 10 months.
Why are we putting a dome at the sports park, if there's always flooding over there?
Well, they bring, I mean, FEMA went and did all the environmentals and all of that stuff, and if we bring it up to elevation, everything, we should be fine. They actually applaud the location that we selected,
Okay,
so.
I was just curious.
Okay, I think the motion that's on the board, I mean, on the table is,
I need to change it, because I didn't include the Modi Clinic in that. How do I just, I'm gonna change it.
huh?
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
Are you
Okay.
withdrawing your motion?
I'm withdrawing that motion, and I'm gonna put another one in, because I forgot the Moody Clinic. So I'm gonna make an emotion to amend the budget for 35,000 for CASA, 35,000 for the Moody Clinic, and 25 for United Way. And that's my
Could
motion.
I'm not gonna interrupt your motion can stand, I just need to make a comment. At least in my time here, a city commission has never been asked to slaughter or to cut or slice and dice a budget in front of an open session in front of different organizations. Okay, this is just, I don't wanna be seeing anybody on this commission cutting, adding, taking away from in front of a viewing session. I think we can do this in a workshop. Even if it needs to be 72 hours from now, we can post. I think it can be done in a workshop, but I just don't see it right now
Okay.
and having to render a decision.
And Commissioner, I can't say I disagree with you. What I'm saying to you is that I think what's now on this motion is to amend the way I guess she's now has it, and we'll have to take a look at it a second. If it fails for a lack of a second, then perhaps maybe we'll entertain a motion to go into a workshop and do it post haste, so that we can, if whatever the commission wishes. But I mean, right now, it's either you're going to accept it or go to a workshop, because there is a time constraint, and nobody would have wanted this but for the fact, I mean, we got the letter this morning. I mean, I got it on my mail today. So it was one of the, and like I said, I wish I could tell you all, in all fairness and honesty, that, you know, HUD goes by rules and regulations that make a hell of a lot of sense, but, and give you the time allotted to it. I've been working with them from day one that I became mayor, and it's not easy. That's not easy. So I don't envy your job.
Stephanie, let me get this, I need to get clarification. We need to approve the funding, but we don't need to approve the amounts that go out to the organizations?
Gotta
No,
go
we
like
need to
that.
approve, as is with detailed organizations in the funding that they're receiving.
Oh, so you
Yes.
need us to
You need
issue out the
categorize.
amounts?
You need to categorize.
And let me just add, we don't, you know, our jobs are not only to go in and monitor, but to coach them back to where they need to be, and offer technical assistance here on out. So anyone who is not funded, we are going to make sure that we get them where they need to be, so that next year they are compliant and ready to go, and all changes were made. In addition to that, I've told several of the organizations, you know, you may not get this funding, but us as the Office of Grant Management will also look for additional grant funding to assist you, because this is supposed to be supplemental to their budget. They should not rely on this funding to carry out their services. We aim to make them more self-sustainable.
Okay. Now, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 3 opposed? Does anybody?
Oh.
I oppose it. Nay?
Nay or approve?
I'm abstaining. Completely.
Okay, you have,
I'm just worried we're not gonna be able to get the funding for the domes next year. And what is that gonna do to us?
well, I think this is the amendment, so you have to, if you're worried about it, then you have to vote against it, I'm assuming. Okay, can we take a roll call? They have a motion to amend in the fashion that Commissioner Tetro said it, and it was seconded by John Villarreal. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's,
I'm very torn by this, I have to say. I'm very, very torn.
Can I please add one more thing in regards to the shelters? We can commit funding for the shelters next year before we get the entire allocation.
Excuse me, I think discussion is over. I think we have a vote, and it passed by 4. Abstention from Rick Longoria, and
From Commissioner Vasquez. Nay or?
No, I'm approving.
In favor?
so it passes. Okay, so it's going to be sliced and diced the way it was requested, and Stephanie get back and email the commissioners exactly what that's going to be with that amendment, please.
Okay, thank you.
Can we work on a clawback clause if there are some issues with compliance later on this year, like we had discussed,
Sure.
to keep them on
And
track?
for the record, my apologies about that slicing and dicing, but there was no way that I could have passed out.
Okay. Item number 8.
Item number 8, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2012-1556, an ordinance to repeal Chapter 54, Article 6, smoking in public places, Sections 51 through 107, 54, 171 through 54, 179, and promulgating a new Chapter 54, Article 6, smoking in public places, by replacing it with Sections 54, 171 through 54, 188.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Good evening, actually. What is being passed is the ordinance. Once it was printed on page 7, there is a redact. Essentially, when we were working off the template, the redact got on board. If what I'm proposing tonight is that redact not be part of the ordinance, it was under the penalty phase. So essentially, the strike-through language would not be part of the ordinance.
Which one was that, Art?
Should be page 7. The city of Brownsville has a general penalty code under section 113. So as the ordinance is stated tonight, any penalties would default to that section of the existing city code. So the strike-through area would not apply to us in this case.
You're eliminating the 54-182 and reverting any penalties to the section before that was already enacted?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion? No, public hearing, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Public hearing.
Is it similar to the fine imposed for littering?
The city, what we've done over the years to streamline through our municipal court is essentially in almost any penalties that we bring forward gives the latitude to the courts to be able to assess a penalty based on that section.
My name is Geneva Woolsey. I haven't been to these meetings before, but I'm very impressed with the way that you are handling them. It's a pleasure to hear everybody speak politely and courteously. I wanted to thank you all for that. Now, what I came tonight is because I feel very strongly in regard to this ordinance. I have never smoked in my whole life. I have not smoked, and I am 81 years old. But I do feel very strongly that this is imposing on people's freedoms. I read in the newspaper, to my dismay, that this ordinance would prevent people from going out in God's air and being prevented from exercising their liberty. This is going to hurt our businesses. I've lived here in Brownsville since October '54, and it seems like infringement on public liberty is just becoming more and more evident. I really agree that we do have to have restaurants and things like that, which I think they have already gone along with what the ordinance was, with having smoke busters inside them, like the Elks Club and the other public places that serve food and have customers come in. And they have private places for people to smoke and non-smoking, which I think is fine, because you're addressing each person's liberty and their choice. But to go ahead and put in this ordinance that you would prevent people from not smoking 20 feet outside in our Lord's air. We did not furnish the air. We do not have the right to prevent people from enjoying it. And I do humbly request that you would drop that part of your ordinance that you're suggesting. I realize this is the first reading. I may not get to the second and third, but I did want to make my voice heard because I'm speaking for everyone who still should be able to be allowed their public liberty and their freedom in God's air. I thank you all.
And we want to thank you.
Hello, everyone. Mayor,
Good evening,
Commissioners.
Craig.
I again want to echo her sentiments about how great you guys are running this commission. It's a far cry from a year, 18 months ago, the way it used to be, and I think it's awesome. I also want to commend Commissioner Tetreault for her motion. I do not think at all that she was trying to slice and dice or hurt anyone. I think she was expeditiously trying to resolve the problem, which I do think frequently we tend to table too much. But I wasn't really going to get up and speak on the smoking issue, but I wanted to address the lady's points, which I tend to agree with a lot of things she says. However, I fall on the other side of the argument, having dealt with a mother who just died of cancer due to cigarettes, and having to live my whole life as a child, in sealed cars with cigarettes, in a home with cigarettes, in restaurants with cigarettes. And now I serve the respiratory effects of that. 20 feet is, I understand what she's saying about outside. But for a non-smoker and someone who does go out, having to be subjected to someone else's cigarette smoke is infringing on my freedoms, quite frankly. I don't have the freedom to go out to bars and restaurants that serve after hours because I end up going home and having sinus infections and allergy problems for the next 3 or 4 days. So I'm actually the one whose freedom is being curtailed because I can't go out. If they want to smoke, they can do it in an area where it does not harm other people. No one needs to quote the stats on the amount of harm that is being done to the individual smoking or the secondary hand smoke. So I completely support this ordinance. Every ordinance could use some adjustment, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. I think restaurants should be able to provide outside smoking, but I want to voice my support for this, and again, commend the commission for their hard work, diligence, and the way they've been getting things done. I did want to say one other thing, kind of unrelated to this, but I put an application over a year ago to be on a board, and that application still has not been taken care of. I had to resubmit it after over a year, and meanwhile, the city is putting out calls for board members, and we can't make quorum on meetings. And then we come to a point where we could have a resolution, and then we table it again. Let's try not to keep tabling things, and let's keep
Greg,
progress
I
going.
appreciate your comments.
I'm just finished, Mayor. I'm finished.
But I understand this is a public hearing with relation to the smoking.
I know that, and I'm finishing that.
Thank
So, but it did need to be said. So expedience is important, and thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your hard work.
Thank you.
On the eve of July 4th, 2012, 236 years ago, liberties were given to the United States. And today, we have a first reading to take some more liberties. I never have smoked, was in the military for 14 years, never drank. I have been criticized severely for not being at the VFW, Veterans of Foreign War. The place stinks of tobacco and cigarettes and beer. So I don't go there. I just heard someone. If you don't have to go, don't go. That's a liberty that you have. Why don't we get to the basic, Mayor? Let's stop selling cigarettes in Brownsville altogether, and we'll lose all that taxes that we get, called sin taxes. Let's get rid of it. We got butts all over Brownsville. I have come up here before and asked you, put a sin tax on the taxes, on those cigarettes. so you can get money to pick up, hire people and pick up all the cigarette butts. But you don't want to do anything. Now you want to infringe this new rule. We already have a rule. We already have it. No, non-smoking. Now we want to make it broad. Okay, let's talk about downtown. 20 feet on one side, 20 feet on the other side. So what happens to the downtown area? Completely non-smoking. The whole place. Are we going to implement that at the flea markets? Are we going to implement that at the farmers markets? Are we going to implement that status here of non-smoking? Why don't we really come after the culprit of death in Brownsville, which is carbon monoxide poisoning from so many cars that smoke up the whole entire Brownsville? Let's take a look at that. That's the super killer. That affects me, and that will kill you faster than cigarette smoke. So I'm asking you, let's take a look at this. July 4th, tomorrow, you tell them, tomorrow we pass an ordinance, first reading. Nobody's going to smoke now in Brownsville. We pass an ordinance to get rid of plastic bags in Brownsville. Now we're going to get rid of another one. That one you did infringe on my rights. I was in Houston, they gave me a bag. I refused because I'm already conditioned. That's kind of psychology, right? I'm conditioned. Don't touch the bag. Even my ex-wife was there because we took her son, and he's standing here. And my son does not smoke because at our house, nobody smokes. Why? Because I didn't smoke. And in Vietnam, I gave all my cigarettes away because they gave us cigarettes every day to smoke in Vietnam. I guarantee you, they gave it to me and said, I don't smoke. My friend Cornelius, he was a super smoker. I hope he didn't pass away. But I used to give him all the cigarettes. But I would like you guys to say, we already have an ordinance. We don't need another one. You're infringing on rights of other individuals. Stop this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Young man, are you coming to speak?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, Jose Velez, just a Brownsville resident and a patron of a lot of bars and discos, clubs, whatever you like to call them. I do. Just about everybody else goes out to them. I follow this man as being a veteran. I myself, but I do smoke, and I enjoyed it. I mean, one of the greatest things I loved was having a great cigarette afterwards. I'm not coming to you as a smoker. I'm coming to you as the service professionals, those who serve us when we sit there and want to have that cold beer. Or after dinner, you know, we have a nice little brandy. I'm sure we've all enjoyed one. What happens when we do take away the smoking inside there? We're not going to sit there very long. Of course, we're not going to spend money. Our economy is hard enough as it is. And then to not be there long enough to have that final dessert or whatever, leave a very small tip because you really weren't happy. It's really going to start affecting everybody in our service industry. Personally, I know one person, she's my neighbor. Single mother. Single mother takes care of her son all by herself. She is a service professional. What happens if tips start coming in? Next thing you know, now we start, you know, she's going to start having to have some kind of state support or lots of things will come up. While she can take care of this on her own, why do you want to affect her? It's her choice to work in that industry and accepts the smoke that's there. Now, you could put filters, you could request that every bar do it, but that'll also hurt them. How long is it going to take before, you know, we're just allowed to have a cigarette or whatever you'd like? Having to make everybody go outside. I've already seen this living in San Antonio. It didn't work. A lot of us just stopped going. We started hanging out at different places that allowed us to smoke because they were outside the city limits. I mean, how much do you think it's really going to affect Brownsville in general?
Thank you very much.
That's all I'd say. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close.
I'm the night owl of the group.
Sure.
And I'm a non-smoker, and I have to take a hit when I get out of the clubs when I'm working because secondhand smoke affects me. But that's part of my job. My inclination is you need to give the bars a choice because Joe Kinney at Cobbleheads says, I don't want smoking in my establishment. You want to smoke? You can go out to my outdoor area. The Phoenix Tavern Grill says we don't want any smoking in here. There's several places that tell you you can smoke in our place, you can't smoke in our place. If you want to smoke in my place, you're welcome to be a patron here. If you don't want to smoke here, we don't allow smoking in here, you already know you're not going to go to this place because you're not. On my days off, I go to the non-smoking places for my own sake. But when I work at the smoking places, those people need to have a chance to allow smokers for a place to come. You know that if you go to Shenanigans, you know that if you go to CNC Wings, you know that if you go to some of the other bars that are here in town, that's where people smoke. You know, people smoke there, and it's allowed by the owner. The owner is allowing it to go on in his or her establishment. And I believe that they have that right to decide what is going to go on in their establishment, at least in that aspect of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
No. I mean, I don't want to keep anybody from not saying whatever they please. Let's try to keep it short if possible, but if somebody else, public hearing is public hearing. Please feel free to come up.
How you guys doing today? This is the very first time that I've come here, and the only reason I come here is as an employee, because I've been working in the service industry for about 8 years, and I'm a bartender myself. I've worked in every place. Yes. My name is Balbina Sandoval, and like I said, I've been working in the service industry for about 8 years. I am a bartender, and the only reason that I oppose to this, I don't smoke, and if I do, it's rare like anybody else. But I think that if you make this not possible for everybody, I'm gonna lose the money I make every day at a place. I make about $200 a night with all the people that go to an establishment. Even people that eat always have a cigarette after they ate, whether they feel better, whether they like it, whether they don't. Yes, 100% of the bars here in Bronxville, you're allowed to smoke in there. I don't think you want to have a conversation outside while you should be inside. A bar is to be in a bar inside. If you go to a restaurant like CNC Wings that you mentioned yourself, you know that you smoke in there. People that go in there, they go there because they want to. You're not forced to go to the place. So you already know that they're gonna smoke in there. If you have a kid, then don't take it. Don't go there if you know they smoke. I think it's what I wanna do. If I wanna go, I go. And if you take it from nobody smoking, the economy is gonna hurt. We're gonna lose money. I probably get unemployed. I probably don't get as many hours as I do. Who knows what? And then I'm gonna have to go ask for government help. I'm gonna have to go ask for food stamps. I don't get child support. I do everything by myself. To me, I feel that a lot of us that work in the service industry, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt by not letting the people smoke in an establishment.
Thank you very much.
That's about it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lori Indridson. Thanks for the comments, Ricky. I appreciate it. I do agree that it should be the bar owner's option. We have one restaurant here in Brownsville that's completely non-smoking, and another one that, because our food sales are less than our alcohol sales, we do still allow smoking. We give people the option. Not every place does, but I think it should be, and the ordinance that you're proposing, I believe, is also saying that I can't even have a patio bar where my smoking customers to go to, because it's gotta be 20 feet away from the building. That's just ridiculous. It'd be out in the middle of the parking lot.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Now, is there any clarification on that, Arturo?
I'm sorry, I just have one question, and maybe, I don't know if you or legal could answer it, but maybe she could because of her experience with the bar. If you were to build outdoor, is there some sort of non-compliance with TABC?
I don't believe so, as long as it's it's on the property and people can't exit with an alcohol beverage.
That's
Okay,
all.
thank you. That was
No,
one question.
You can't take a whiskey out.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's what,
You gotta move to Louisiana for that.
yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Belinda Reiniger. I work for the University of Texas School of Public Health, and I am pleased to have the opportunity to speak out. Wasn't particularly planning on saying anything, but feel very compelled to do so. There's really 2 points that I'd like to make. One is that there is absolutely no safe level of exposure to the carcinogens that are present in cigarettes. No safe level of exposure. Secondhand smoke is highly problematic and causes long-term problems, not just for the person who is using the cigarettes. Obviously, as secondhand smoke, it's for those around. No safe level of exposure. The second is there is no reputable study that has shown a negative economic impact of the curtailing of cigarette use in public places such as bars and restaurants. No study has been shown that. In fact, some studies that are done very well have shown a positive economic impact. People make more money. More people want to go out to those establishments and use them because they can enjoy smoke-free area. And some studies have shown just a neutral impact. So I'd like you to just keep that in mind as you consider this option. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Belinda. Appreciate it. Is there anything that you want to clarify, Arturo, so that we don't make sure the public knows, that has a full knowledge of what's happening?
Absolutely. First, let me show, and I'm going to ask the young lady here to just kind of go through them. I want to satisfy some concerns from the public, especially that an ordinance of this type hurts business. There is a study that was done out of 5 cities in Central Texas towards an ordinance very similar to this. There was, as we were just told by Dr. Reiniger, very little to negligible impact. It was either no impact or no negative impact. And this is showing that based on other cities' experience with an ordinance of this type, there is no negative economic impact compared to what individuals think. There is another point that this ordinance would ban smoking in patios. No, essentially, to sum up this ordinance, we're asking that there be a buffer space of at least 20 feet from a window or a doorway that would lead any smokers smoke back into the building. Why are we here today? We're here today because the current ordinance, the last 5 times we've gone to municipal court based on citations, we've had to let the judge know that based on the current ordinance, which was very weak, we had to essentially throw the case out because we could not enforce it. So our current ordinance is very difficult to enforce because of the receipts, and also because of there's a stipulation if there's a building, a premise that's 750 square feet or less, and with 1 employee, they are exempt. We currently still have a business in town who, I'll go nameless, we still get concerns regularly from them because their establishment is located next to an establishment that allows smoking, and their employees next door, every time that other door is open, they're receiving the secondhand smoke. So this is not about infringing on smokers' rights. This is about a public health issue that secondhand smoke causes.
All right. Will I hear a motion to close public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, you have an action on the first reading.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried.
Item 9, public comment period. First person is Mr. Albert. reimbursement 2012-040, expressing official intent to reimburse costs incurred to provide the local share of costs to construct and equip a Texas Safe Shelter Initiative dome at the main library and a hangar facility at the airport.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, this is a reimbursement resolution. What it does, it prepares us in case the city issues debt in the near future and we start spending some of these monies for some of these projects. The projects we're talking about tonight are for the Texas Safe Shelter construction at the main library, and the other one is for the airport hangar. The Texas Safe Shelter is, we already have a grant for that, but this is but it requires a local portion to complete the project, and we're looking at about $3 million as a local contribution. Can you just move it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let me start off. Earlier during the year, on June the 5th, the City Commission approved a reimbursement resolution regarding the West Rail projects, West Railway project that the city had, that the county had requested $2 million to complete the railroad relocation project. And right now, based on that reimbursement, we're thinking of, well, we are going to have what we call an interlocal agreement between the county and the city, whereby language to the interlocal agreement will indicate that we would like to have a 50-50 share of any bridges that would be built within the city limits by Cameron County. In this case, they were talking about the Flor de Mayo bridge. We would like to be included in that project. That's, in other words, we're not issuing any monies to the county until this interlocal agreement is agreed by both parties. But that was for June 5th. But for tonight, we have the $3 million contribution for the construction of the Texas Safe Shelter at the main library and the airport's hangar facility project. Altogether, based on what we have already, if you approve this tonight, it will be a $6.1 million obligation. I have a note at the bottom. It says all future debt to finance the above projects is still on hold. All of this is still on hold. Nothing has been dispersed as far as funds. There, obviously, when the city issues debt, there is going to be a tax rate associated with it, and tonight we're speaking of a debt service tax rate. Currently, right now, for fiscal year 2012, there is a tax rate of 70.0613 cents. The M&O, or the general fund, gets 61.43%, and the debt service gets a distribution of 38.7%, or 43 cents goes to the general fund, and 27 cents goes to the debt service fund. That equals to the 70 cents, 0613. If in the future there is debt that we are requesting for you to consider later during the year, we're based on the $6.1 million. We expect that the tax rate will go up 85 cents. The debt service tax rate will go up 0.85 cents, less than a penny. And at the very bottom, it shows once we include the 0.85 cents, or less than a penny, the distribution for the general fund would be 43.0286 cents, and the debt service 27.0327. Notice that we have maintained the same tax rate. What happens here is that the general fund is going to get less, and that's because the rest is going to go for debt service. If, let's say that we don't consider these two projects tonight, that means that either we don't do them or use general fund monies to do the local share for the dome project and for the airport hangar. Now, for the airport hangar, we already have been awarded a a grant to construct the hangar. All they need is local share. So that's on hold right now. EDA grant funding is on hold until we allocate monies as the local share. Same thing goes for the dome. The money is there. They still need a local share to complete the project, and now it is just going to be at the library. This schedule just shows you right now, based on the general fund. Where does the general fund stand right now? We're looking at, based on estimated budget amounts, we're looking at $11.2 million at the end of the fiscal year. That's about 12.27% in reserves. So again, tonight, we are asking you to approve a reimbursement resolution. We are not asking you to issue debt tonight. All we're asking is for you to approve a reimbursement resolution in case the city decides to start spending some of this local share for these projects. Then we will be able to get reimbursed. The general fund will be able to get reimbursed from the proceeds of the CO. Now, that's how it works. Again, there is no debt being issued tonight. All we're asking is for a reimbursement resolution, and that's what this is.
Motion to approve?
Go ahead. No, and Pete, I think, because I was involved in the budget process this week, I understand two of those items, of the dome and the hangar. What I would like to have a little bit more inquiry, when we passed a resolution about a month ago with regards to the assistance to the county on the rail, we definitely defined the terms of what we wanted. We want to get involved in the taxing, with those taxing entities to receive funds. You know, that was part of the negotiations. I'm not sure where that stands. That's where.
Yeah, Mr. Sauce, he's not in today, but he is working with Mr. Sepulveda in trying to come up with a interlocal agreement to address this issue, Mayor.
Okay.
So
we don't have any status on that. But,
no, sir.
And since we're not asking for the funds right now, you're just asking for a motion to get reimbursed should you need to get those funds, right?
Should we issue the debt?
Okay,
Yes.
because I would like an updated report if you would get with Mark Saucy and
Because we didn't need to commit funds.
we need to commit funds, but we need to negotiate. I mean, it's not a one-way, not a one-way railroad.
Yeah.
And that's coming up, Mayor. That's
Okay.
But you're also telling me or us that along with this, when we commit to these six mil, that along with it will come a 0.85 increase on the current tax?
Less than a penny, 0.85% debt service tax increase.
Which means you're going to go from one column to the other.
Yes. This particular schedule shows the same tax rate. All we're doing is we're moving money from the general fund or the M&O fund rate to the debt service rate to cover those payments that will come due when the debt is issued.
Okay.
And again, we don't have a tax roll yet. These are all estimates. 0.85 is just an estimate.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second the motion.
Okay. You made the motion?
I made the motion.
You made the motion, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Item 11, consideration and action on reimbursement resolution number 2012-041 relating to establishing the city's intention to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditure of funds related to constructing various capital infrastructure improvements to the city's combined utility system from the proceeds of tax-exempt commercial paper notes to be issued by the city for authorized purposes and authorizing other matters incident and related thereto.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Yandra Garcia, Chief Financial Officer for Brownsville PUB. This resolution pertains to the combined utility system commercial paper program that's been in place for 18 years, since 1994. It's currently set at $50 million with all the facilities in place, the agreements with the marketing agents and the banks at $50 million. Entities that cash flow projects using their own monies have to upfront declare that they have an intention in the future to reimburse themselves. This is per IRS regulations. We are on a reimbursement basis utilizing this program. What has allowed us to do in the past is issue commercial paper. We acquired a share in Oakland Union utilizing this program, and then it was refunded into long-term debt. In 2008, we had the commission approve the reimbursement resolution of $24,450,000, which allowed us to use monies to complement some of the ARA, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act projects, the $46 million that we needed to do at the same time, and as well as other projects. We do plan to convert that $24 million to long-term debt in the near future without a rate increase. So what we're asking today is to open up the current program, $50 million, to allow other projects in the next between now and 2016 to get funded. What it does, like I say, it allows us to get reimbursed after we cash flow the projects with some working capital on hand. We do have a process in place with our board of directors. We're on a quarterly basis. Even though we may have a 5-year plan, debt requirement, we're on a quarterly basis. We present to the board projects that our engineers are ready to contract out and fund. So on a quarterly basis, we have the actual list of projects compiled that qualify for commercial paper funding. So we do have a mechanism to at least utilize the funding for priority type projects. I said it does establish an intent for us to reimburse ourselves in the future.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Do I hear a motion?
I have a question. What is, at the end of that, it says authorizing any other matters incident and related thereto?
That usually captures any matters we have to do to conduct the transactions, to deal with the marketing agent, to go out and market the debt and the liquidity facility. We have a letter of credit that secures this debt to investors. So there's other related legal type of activity, or through the FA, through Estrella Hinojosa, that we have to complete to meet IRS regulations and tax exempt requirements.
Your motion?
Does that answer your question? It's kind of general.
Just, if it's part of the fees that you incur, I don't see why you would have to put that separate.
Those actual requirements are elaborated in the actual resolution a little bit further, a lot more detail as to what is covered, and because we have to do an umbrella type approach as to what we're going to reimburse ourselves for. IRS regulations. What it does is it keeps us from funding non-utility related projects. You know, if we spent monies on something that's not related to utility improvements, we can't go out there and issue the debt for that, for something outside the utility related stuff. So the bond council keeps it kind of general.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leandro.
Item 12, consideration and action to authorize the City of Brownsville to make payment to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for reimbursement of properties located at 1214 Normal Lane and 18 Midway Drive.
Mayor, Commissioners, there were 7 properties that were purchased in 2008. It was a package deal with our home dollars. And they were for construction of new homes, affordable homes for families. One of those, unfortunately, was in a flood zone, which is a big no-no with HUD. The other has a home on there that's in really bad shape and needs to be demolished. So at this point in time, we need to pay HUD back for those 2 properties. And we are in the process of selling those properties. I have Mr. Chosey here with me if there's any questions regarding that. But given the time constraints, we're asking that the city upfront that funding so that we can reimburse HUD and then reimburse the city when those properties are sold.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Item 13, consideration and action to award a contract for maintenance and repair to shade structures for the Brownsville Parks and Recreation Department.
Sounds shady.
Mayor, Commissioners, our department's trying to fix a lot of the structures that we installed 8 to 10 years ago. This includes, pretty much everything in our athletic fields. The number one thing we're working with right now is the replacement of various shade structures at the athletic fields. The hip structures that are there had a warranty of 6 years. They're approximately 8 years old, so they're 2 years over. We've kind of stretched it out a lot. So our goal right now is the project actually covers a replacement of 26 fabric tops, repair cables, repair some of the columns for rust that need rust treatment, and the labor. Some of the tops have been vandalized, so those need to be repaired, whether warranty or not. The one thing I do want to stress is that the buy board, our department has looked into it. The fixtures and things that have been purchased over the past 6 to 8 years, we're stuck with. We're stuck with that manufacturer. But we are looking at the different vendors that do the repairs. For instance, Park Place is a vendor now. When we purchased these items, Sunports was the vendor. We recently had some repairs done. We were not happy with one of the vendors. Therefore, we've gone to another one who is on the buy board as well. And we're confident that they'll do the repairs correctly.
Would approve?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Christopher. Christopher, in looking at going out to the housing project out there at Citrus Terrace, I noticed your park out there at Tony Gonzalez is just looking gorgeous.
Thank you.
But I want to tell you, if you kind of take a look at it, they don't have that many shade structures, but they have a lot of trees, and it provides a lot of shade. And you know, those things don't have to be repaired.
Exactly.
Unless God does something with them. But we might consider, as we went through the process, I didn't get a chance to be there when you were there, but you might consider with the Beautification Committee and Commissioner Villarreal looking at grants to try to figure out how to get as many shade trees. I know I love palm trees, but they don't give much shade. Okay?
Greg, Mayor, if I could add very quickly, we had the situations Veterans Park last year. We were going to put in structures, shade structures. We actually were able to work it out to where we did get trees. We're using trees now. They're going to be great. They're already flourishing, so that's our goal right now.
Yeah.
To not purchase these things in the future. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, on the ones that were vandalized, have we taken any measures to prevent that? Like more security or?
We do have security in our parks, but those particular ones, they're just a matter of just like somebody coming in and breaking a window to one of our facilities. Some of those, you could tell that some heavy object was thrown on top of it, and the weight of it cut into the structures. The only thing I can say is we do have people there at the security. And it was only one of the locations of the 35 shade structures we have that was damaged to the vandalism.
I have those Sunport shades at the car wash, and they're very good, but wow, they're expensive.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think the athletic fields, we can't put the trees close to them. So that's why these athletic shade structures are there. But we're going to refrain from doing that in the rest of the park, other than the fields themselves.
But you can start putting trees.
Yes, and the athletic fields, we've kind of kept away from that because, for instance, Morningside Park, they put trees a while back, and they encroached upon the lighting. So we had to take some of the trees out. But we are using some of the smaller trees that don't grow to the heights where it affects the lights. We've started to do that at the FM 511 fields, slowly but surely.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 14.
Item 14, consideration and action to award a contract for the installation of a new traffic signal at East 7th Street and Harrison.
Mayors, Commissioners, good evening. Here to award the contract for the signal on 7th Street and Harrison Street. The bid is $49,967.99. It's from D&G Energy. I recommend approval.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Item 15, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase and delivery of a thermoplastic melting system with trailer for the Brownsville Traffic Department.
Yes, there's the B&B contract company. It's for $52,495.91. The finding will be coming up from 522,942 will be $29,493.91. And the $29,491 will be coming from the financial, there'll be for budget amendment on that. I'm hoping for any questions on this.
Move to approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Robert,
Thank
just for the public's information, this machine will be used for striping, and it'll be a huge improvement from what we currently have, right?
This machines will be made, mostly it's really made for crosswalks for schools. We have a lot of crosswalk there in the school areas, also for the downtown area, also for anywhere we have crosswalks and expressways. The thermoplastic should last, usually when we use with paint, it's only for about 6 months to 1 year, depends on the flow of traffic. This should last 3 years, so will give us enough time for the department to go out and do other duties that we take care of that we're behind on. It's a great machine.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Adjourn. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a great 4th of July.
Thank you.